Hey guys, Soberoni of G&A Reviews here with a different type of video. A lot of you have asked me for this. For those of you who aren't aware, we're entering Gacha Hell, and what that means is we're entering a period where we're going to have about 4 incredible, amazing gachas, all within about a month and a half of each other. And it's going to be very hard to remain free to play for this period of time. So for those of you who are frugal, you want to know which gacha you should invest in. And honestly, that's more of a personal question. I can't recommend one gacha to everyone. It really depends on what you have on your team and what you need. Obviously, if you need a Berserker, you should roll the one that has the Berserker in it, etc. But I do want to do my best to give you the pros and cons of each of these gachas so you know which one is the best for you. So we're going to go through each of these upcoming banners: the Journey to the West, the Skyhawk, the Onigashima, and Camelot as well. And I should note that I'm not 100% sure we're getting the Skyhawk banner. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but it is very likely since we are following JP's schedule, though now that I have said it, it's probably not going to happen because that's what my luck is like. But without further ado, let's just get right into the banners themselves and go into the pros and cons of each of them. And let's go in chronological order, starting with Journey to the West, which should be the first one we're getting. The Journey to the West gacha is going to feature an all-new 5-star caster, Sanzo, and she's pretty much the best 5-star caster available in the game. I don't think there's any real debate surrounding that. In addition to her, you're also going to be able to grab Li Shuwen, who is a good 4-star Lancer. I'll link to his spotlight in the description below. And even if you haven't cleared America yet, you can still pull Li Shuwen, so if you need a good Lancer, this is another way to get him. In addition, the event craft essences for this gacha aren't too bad, and they're absolutely critical to farming this event with any sanity intact. Journey to the West is an infamous grinding event, and you will absolutely want some craft essences to ease the pain, so any craft essences you can pull from this gacha are well worth it. And also the 4-star craft essence is pretty decent. And it doesn't hurt that Sanzo is also a pretty decent looker as well. As far as cons go, though, she is going to be added to the permanent gacha pool after Camelot, much like Tamamo was added after London. And what that means is she's always going to be available to roll. Whether you're rolling in the story banner or just in another raid up, she's always going to be in the gacha pool. So it's very likely that at some point in the future, even if you're not rolling for her, you can still get her or get spooked by her. So there's no immediate rush to go out and get her, like this is your only chance to ever obtain her. And just because she is the best offensive caster doesn't mean she is the best caster or even close to it. It's kind of like being the best minor league player, and that's not a knock on Sanzo even though it sounds like it. It's just that the concept of offensive casters in and of itself is somewhat flawed, so don't expect her to be as good as someone like Waver or Tamamo. She's very good at what she does, but what she does isn't the most amazing thing. But now, let's move on to talking about the Skyhawk gacha. So for the Skyhawk gacha, this one is pretty simple. Skyhawk is an incredibly strong Lancer, arguably the best Lancer out in North America right now. I'll have a spotlight linked below in the description and at the end of this video so that you can check it out for yourselves. But if you do need a gold Lancer, you can't go wrong with Skyhawk. This is also going to be a solo raid up, so you have a very good chance of getting her if you weren't able to get her before. It is pretty rare for servants to have solo raid ups on occasion, so this is a very good chance to get her. And even though she does drop off a bit late game, she's still very, very decent. She's still a top tier Lancer all throughout the game. So if you have Skyhawk, you won't ever need another Lancer really. As far as cons for this gacha though, like I said, she does drop off late game, and even though it can be exaggerated by some people, it's still a decent drop off, so do keep that in mind. Her days as being best Lancer are numbered. She's also really common as far as limited servants go. She will have other raid ups aside from this one, so there's no need to rush and get her right now. Specifically, she's going to have a raid up during the New Year's event. She's going to have a solo raid up yet again, so no need to rush. And she's also going to be available in the paid gachas for the anniversary and New Year's next year. So again, she's pretty common as far as limited servants go. This is not going to be your only chance to get her. And finally, probably the biggest con against this gacha is that Tamamo Lancer and the summer event is right around the corner. And honestly, Tamamo Lancer is a better Lancer than Skyhawk is, especially later on in the game. and her gacha is just way better. The summer gacha is actually very, very good. You have a good chance of getting other really strong 4 stars along with Tamamo, so you're just better off saving those quartz for Tamamo instead. Tamamo also has fewer rate ups than Skyhawk does. So with all of that said, let's talk a bit about Onigashima. So the Onigashima gacha is going to be another event gacha. It's going to be featuring Raiko and Ibaraki. Both of them are Berserker class servants, and both of them are amazing. Next to Ku Alter, Raiko is arguably the best Berserker in the game, and she's definitely one of the best servants in the game when it comes to farming overall. She's tremendous at it. Ibaraki is also one of the best 4-star Berserkers in the game, probably the best 4-star Berserker next to Herc. So if you need a gold Berserker, you can't go wrong with either Ibaraki or Raiko. Both of them are absolutely amazing. This is the banner to roll if you need a Berserker. In addition to that, there's also some very strong craft essences available in this gacha. And I don't mean just good for the event, but overall these are very, very strong craft essences. Even the 3-star craft essence in this gacha is pretty decent, and the 4 and 5-star ones are very good, especially for arts and quick servants. And even the 3-star servants in this gacha aren't all that bad. Literally everything in this gacha is pretty good. In addition, if you are someone who likes to collect limited servants, Raiko is a limited servant, so there you go. She won't be available outside of this event for a while. As far as the cons go, again, this is a very Berserker heavy gacha, so if you have Ku Alter or Kintoki or Herc, you might want to steer clear of this because you're just going to grab yourselves more Berserkers. And although she won't have a rate up for a little while, Raiko is still fairly common as far as limited servants go. She has a few rate ups, including other solo rate ups, and this event in and of itself has a rerun next year. So even if you don't do anything this year, you can always roll for Raiko and all these event craft essences and everything else next year when there's less of a cluster of really strong banners competing with each other. So do keep that in mind. And the final gacha we have to talk about is the Part 1 story gacha for Camelot. This one is going to feature Ozymandias and Saber Lancelot as well as Nitocris. Ozymandias in and of himself is an extraordinarily great servant, and he's quite possibly the best rider in the entire game. He has a tremendous amount of utility, he can do an extraordinary amount of damage, he's just a great servant all around, and out of all the servants in these 4 gachas, probably the best one overall you can get. In addition to that, Saber Lancelot is also a tremendously broken, overpowered 4-star servant. For those of you who have seen some of my other spotlights, you might have seen me showcase a bit of my Saber Lancelot, and yeah, he's pretty broken. He's better than most 5-star sabers, and he's definitely up there in the same league as Herc and the other ridiculous 4-stars. So between the combo of Ozymandias and Saber Lancelot, that's probably going to be the best 2-servant combo you can get from any of these gachas. In addition, you also have a very good craft essence on rate up in Origin Bullet. On the downside though, you have Nitocris, who's also in this banner. And that's not to say that Nitocris is useless, but she is definitely no Saber Lancelot. And I'm sure the Nitocris spooks will abound in this gacha. So do be wary of that. In addition, Ozymandias is also part of the permanent gacha, just like Sanzo, meaning you can always roll him forever whenever you roll any gacha ever. So he isn't as rare as you would think, and yes, he may not have that many rate ups, but again, he's always going to be there, so chances are he's going to spook you at one point or another while you're rolling for someone else. So do keep all of that in mind when you're considering if you should roll on his gacha. And those are my thoughts on these upcoming banners. Like I said, they're all very, very good banners. I hope me breaking down the pros and cons has helped you guys kind of decide what you personally want to roll on. And it is a personal question. I can't just come out and tell you everyone should roll this because this is objectively the best banner. You have to roll for what you need. For example, if you have a bunch of riders and no berserkers, then you might want to roll Onigashima over Camelot, and vice versa if it's the other way around. You got to do what's best for you. And this game does value variety, so you want to make sure you have at least one good servant in each class rather than a class that's filled with a bunch of good servants and you're leaking everywhere else. But I know that won't satisfy everyone, so I will say that in my opinion, the best gacha to roll based on what you can get out of it, not just the servants, but the craft essences and the circumstances surrounding it, is the Onigashima gacha. It's the best gacha because Ibaraki and Raiko are tremendous servants. They're both absolutely top tier. They're not as strong a power combo as Ozymandias and Saber Lancelot, but there's no Nitocris in that gacha, so it kind of balances out. And in addition, there's so many great craft essences in that gacha. There's so many great 3 stars in that gacha. It just gives you such a great chance of coming out with a high quality servant or craft essence, more so than any of these other gachas do. So if you're completely undecided, I would say that's your best bet. And that's my 2 cents. If you did like this video, please do consider leaving a like. And if you really enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. Also do check out the spotlights for Scathach and Li Shuwen, linked in the description below, as well as my updated spotlight for Brynhilda, which will also be linked. And if you haven't already, do follow us on Twitter and join the party over at our Discord. And until the next time, guys, this is Soberoni signing out. Later.